All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another video. All right, y'all, so I just got done checking out Aaron and Rose's most recent interviews leading up to their fight this Saturday. Should be a good fight. I think it's a good matchup. Aaron's interview was good. She talked about where she feels like where she stands right now, leading up to a title shot. And, of course, Rose, she's had 2 good wins this year. Now, this is her 3rd fight, and if she gets the 3rd win this year, she feels like, hey, she's next in line for a title shot. And she's not saying she feels like she's going to be next, but she feels like she'll be next after Manon. She feels like Manon deserves her title shot. But she did say, hey, if she comes up with a spectacular performance and if the UFC sees fit to give her that shot, she would take it. She feels like she would take it. And I was just kind of laughing at how MMA Junkie, they worded the title here. They said, Rose Namajunas thinks she can steal Manon Fiora's title shot. And she didn't really say it like that. That's why people were saying it was a clickbait title, which I kind of thought it was. I was kind of like, MMA Junkie, y'all need to do better with the titles, But it does kind of make you think, it kind of makes me ask that question, like, would the UFC do that at this point? And just want to ask y'all, because I was asking myself, like, now if Rose was to knock out Aaron or submit Aaron, do you think that's enough to jump ahead of Manon and steal her title shot? That's just a question now because of the way they worded it. I was thinking about it. But she did just kind of hint around that she would take that opportunity if they gave it to her, which, any fighter would. But, of course, in my opinion, I don't think that would be fair, because at this point, Manon's already done enough work, which I'll answer that question here in a minute. But this is what she said anyway in the interview. I guess anything's possible, and that's my intention, to put on a really good performance, enough to where there's no doubt I could be next. But I just feel as if Manon deserves it next anyways, regardless of what I do. She technically has a win over me. I do feel like if that was a 5-round fight, I think I could have found a way to win. I was finding it towards the end, but it is what it is. To address that real quick, I still think Manon would have beat her in a 5-round fight. But anyways, it was a 3-round fight, and I think Manon did enough to win. So I know when she says technically she has a win, yeah, she's got a win over you. She has a legit win over you. Manon does, whether you like it or not. Doesn't have to be a submission, doesn't have to be a knockout. She still has that win over Rose, I know the pinky came into play, but it's still a W. And to throw that if in there, that's not really an excuse at this point because there's a difference between a 3-round fight and a 5-round fight, right? You pretty much train the same way as far as training for fights, but pacing is different. If you're going into a 3-round fight, you know what you got to do. You got to get started early. You got to fight with urgency. Now, if it's a 5-round fight, yeah, you got more leeway to adjust and adapt, especially against a striker like Manon. But if you fighting in there in a 3-round fight, I know the pinky was broken, but you got to switch gears and go to another level and do something to knock her out or submit her, right? That's just what it is. But, yeah, it was a 3-round fight. So there's really no if there. But she also said this, if Manon wins the belt, that would be great to fight her again or even have that dream matchup with Valentina one day. So I'd be excited to see them fight. But if the UFC wanted to put me ahead of that with a very spectacular performance, I'd be open to that as well. So, yeah, she said she would be open to that if the UFC gave it to her. So, yeah, going back to my question, if Rose was to knock out Aaron or submit her in like 1 or 2 rounds, knock her out cold or just choke out Aaron, would that performance be enough to steal Manon's title shot? And my answer to that, y'all know what I'm going to say. No, absolutely not. Not at this point, because for one, Manon's already done the legwork. She's already done all the heavy lifting at this weight. But second, Manon has a win over both of them. And it's not about, at this point, it's not about how exciting the win is and what type of fashion it's done in. A W is a W. And Manon got to both of them first, and she's already put in that work. So you got to go by the rankings at this point. So I don't think that her knocking out Aaron or busting up Aaron or winning a 50-45 over Aaron or even a little bit more convincing than Manon did is enough at this point because, again, Manon already took Aaron to school in that department. And, again, she already has that win over Rose. So that wouldn't really be logical at that point. It'd just be kind of dumb to just say, okay, Rose knocks out Aaron. Oh, that looked really good. That looked really good. So let's let her jump over the person that you lost to. That wouldn't make any sense, because styles make fights. one person might just walk through somebody. One person might just knock somebody out and finish them off, but the other person might struggle with it. It's like that in boxing sometimes. Ali, he struggles with Joe Frazier, where George Foreman, he knocks out Joe Frazier 2 times. But Ali, he knocks out George Foreman, And then it goes back to even MMA. Joanna, she single-handedly beats Jessica Andrade, where Rose struggles with Jessica Andrade. But Rose, she's able to beat Joanna. You know what I mean? So it's always like that. There's always going to be that triangle effect, So it really wouldn't come down to what type of fashion that person beats them in, to me. It's got to go by who's done it first and whose resume is legit. So if Manon is the one with the wins over both of these fighters, then she's just on lock for that. It wouldn't take at this point, it wouldn't take a knockout at all from Rose to get ahead of a knockout win over Aaron to get that title shot over Manon at this point. It's just putting Rose into title talks at this point, getting in line, right? Because Rose had to go through that process, because if you go all the way back to when she fought Manon, that was just too much of a jump for her. Just too much of a jump for her. So she had to go back and work her way up, beating Ebos, Tracy Cortez, and now if she beats Aaron, yeah, then we can talk, right? Then we can talk. But even then, man, it could say something else, right? The UFC could say something else and say, okay, she beat Aaron, but we still got Alexa Grasso in front of her. They might want to put her in there with Alexa Grasso next. Or we got Natalia Silva, who's on a nice little undefeated streak in the UFC, right? So, okay, we got these 2 interesting fights right here. So let's see what one of these 2 fighters look like against Rose. They're good, dangerous fighters. Let's put this little tournament together right here while Manon's getting her title shot, just to try to really lock in who looks like the biggest threat. I mean, a lot of these girls right now are threats to whoever the champion is at this point. But the UFC might do just like they did with Aaron and Manon. Both Aaron and Manon were 6-0. They got all the way up there 6-0 in the UFC. And you could actually line them 2 up and just say, okay, Manon gets her shot, then Aaron gets her shot, or vice versa, right? You could have did that, but they had to wind up fighting. So Natalia Silva's on her 5-fight win streak, 6-fight win streak. Rose will be on her little 3-fight win streak. So they could say, let's let these 2 fight, if Rose beats Aaron. They could try to make these 2 fight to get a legitimate title contender again. So a lot of things can happen because, while they're locking this Manon and Valentina fight in, they're going to have to stay active unless somebody wants to sit around a year again, So it's going to be a long turnaround even for Rose when she's waiting for the winner of Valentina versus Manon. It won't be till like the summertime or maybe late fall again of 2025. So, yeah, I just think that with where Rose stands and Aaron stands, knocking Aaron out, who already lost to Manon, is coming off a Manon loss, isn't enough to jump ahead of Manon. Because, again, Manon, 7-0 in the UFC, done the heavy lifting. She's fought everybody, had a few setbacks, but still came back to fight, won all her fights. So give her a title shot at this point. Just give her a title shot. Again, with Rose, beating Aaron would mean something, but again, they could put her in there with Grasso. You just never know. You just never know. I would love to see Grasso versus Silva, but that could happen. But guys, what do y'all think in the comment section? That was just kind of a question that I saw kind of come up, and I just thought about it, and I was like, no, like it doesn't really come down to performance at this point. It just comes down to resume and who's on the better win streak and who's got the better wins and who's higher ranked, right? That's all it comes down to at this point. But guys, what do y'all think in the comment section? Combo Breaker 99, it's WMMA Talk. Hit the like button. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.